Hey, Cash Course fans! Before we start the show, remember that you can get hundreds of free educational videos for all ages at PragerUkids.com. Subscribe today and never miss an episode.
To measure the performance of a runner, you can check their time.
Pick up that pace, Johnson, or you're cooked.
Yes, Coach.
To measure the performance of a chef, you can check the temperature.
It's raw, Jackson!
Sorry, Chef.
But how do you measure the performance of an economy? After all, economies are complex and constantly changing.
Easy. I see how my stocks are doing.
Well, your stock portfolio might be booming or sagging, but that doesn't tell us whether an economy is. For that, several benchmark indicators are often used. The three we hear about most are gross domestic product, consumer price index, and unemployment rate.
Do they come with any stock tips?
Unfortunately, no. But taken together, these indicators are used by the government, the media, and businesses to give an idea of an economy's health, whether it's expanding or contracting, and where the winds might be blowing. This can be useful information when looking for a job or making financial decisions like investing. So, let's look at each of them. First up, gross domestic product.
Ew!
Oh no, not gross like that. Gross in this case means total. Gross domestic product, or GDP, measures an economy's production. Production refers to the overall value of all the goods and services an economy produces, like gas, internet services, and groceries. GDP can be measured over a period of time, like 3 months or a year. The most common way to calculate GDP is the expenditures approach, which is the total amount of consumer spending, investment spending, government spending, and exports, but subtracting the amount of imports. Consumer spending, including food and beverage, electronic goods, and medical care, usually makes up the largest share of a developed country's GDP. In the US, it's about 2/3 of its total GDP.
Oh, wow. The 2023 US GDP was over $27 trillion. Put a lid on it, Jackson!
Sorry, Chef.
GDP is also viewed over time to measure a country's economic growth. If an economy's GDP is $100 billion one year and only $95 billion 1 year later, then that economy is contracting. But if instead the number is $105 billion 1 year later, the economy is expanding. GDP doesn't count everything, including donations, sales of used items, volunteer work, or illegal activities.
Remember, no illegal activities.
Yes, Chef.
Next, the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, which tracks the purchasing power of people's money by tracking the price of a market basket of everyday goods. That basket includes a number of categories, including food, housing, medical, fuel, recreational goods, and utilities. Like the GDP, the CPI is most effective when analyzing its changes over time. Let's say that the basket in January 2023 was $100, and in January 2024, it was tracked to be $110. This growth, called the inflation rate, means that your money has lost purchasing power because the cost of goods has gone up. If instead, the basket was tracked in January 2024 as $90, this negative growth means your money has gained purchasing power because the cost of goods has gone down. This is also known as deflation.
You're fired. Get out. Get out!
The third indicator is the unemployment rate. This measures how many people are jobless but looking for work. If that number is low, it's usually touted as the economy is healthy and productive. When it's higher, it's usually a sign the economy is in trouble. During the height of the Great Depression, around 25% of the workforce was unemployed.
Terrible.
I'm in my Great Depression era, too.
Anyways, like other indicators, the unemployment rate is most effective when measured over time. If the rate is 5% in January 2023, and then it's 4% in January 2024, the implication is that employment has increased over that year.
Can we even trust the numbers?
Well, like any statistic, there are limits to what they can and can't tell us. For example, an increase in the price of a car may be tracked to the CPI's market basket, but it doesn't account for improvements or additional features that also increase the value to the consumer. This can cause an inflationary bias, showing goods increasing in price without considering additional factors that led to the increase. And when it comes to GDP, if the government spends a lot during a specific time period, it may artificially boost the GDP to make an economy look better than it really is. As for the unemployment rate, it doesn't include people who work part-time and want full-time work, or those who have given up looking for work altogether. Lastly, while each of these indicators has a long history, how they're calculated has changed over time. How each was calculated 100, 50, or even 10 years ago is different than it is today. This can often make comparing larger time periods less accurate than comparing shorter time periods. While these and many other indicators can tell us how an economy has performed recently, they're far from perfect. Get to know what part of an economy's story they tell and what part they don't, and you could improve your performance, whether you're working, saving, or investing.
Great time, Johnson. Oh, please hit the shower.
Yes, Coach.
Jackson, it was actually great. Please come back to my kitchen.
Watch more at PragerUkids.com. And parents, don't forget to subscribe.